ready for a mental vacation.
Always.
We're heading to Nepal today.
Oh, nice.
Think those incredible trekking trails.
Yeah.
We're going to figure out what happens when the sun sets on your trek and you need a place to stay.
Okay.
You need to rest your weary feet.
Right.
What awaits you?
Oh, there's a surprising range of options, actually, when it comes to accommodation in the Nepali mountains.
And we're going to break it all down based on information last updated in 2025 from David Ways, the Nepal guidebook author.
Right.
So let's talk about tea houses.
Okay.
They seem to be the heart and soul of the trekking experience.
Yeah. Tea houses are steeped in history. They started out as simple family homes along the trails,
Right.
offering shelter and a warm cup of tea to travelers passing through.
Wow.
Over time, they started providing food, too, evolving into the iconic tea houses we know today.
So if I'm picturing a rustic, firelit room with steaming cups of chai, am I on the right track?
You might be, but it really depends on where you trek. On well-trodden paths like the Everest Base Camp or the Annapurna Circuit tea houses have become quite commercialized.
Oh.
Often resembling lodges or guest houses.
So maybe not always that traditional charm?
Right. But venture off the beaten path, say to far west Nepal or the Panchase or Mardi Himal treks, and you might just find that authentic tea house experience you're imagining.
Okay. So what can I actually expect when I stay in a tea house?
Think basic comforts.
Okay.
Shared bathrooms, often squat toilets.
Right.
Thin mattresses, limited electricity, and a focus on simple, hearty meals.
Speaking of meals, I've heard about delbat.
Yes.
That lentil and rice dish.
Exactly. It's a staple in the mountains along with steaming momos, noodle soups, and of course, plenty of tea. And despite the basic accommodations, tea houses are known for their warm hospitality. And the chance to connect with locals and fellow trekkers.
So you're trading luxury for a truly immersive experience.
Precisely. It's about embracing the simplicity of mountain life and connecting with the heart of Nepal.
I can definitely see the appeal in that.
Yeah.
Now, what about trekking lodges?
Okay.
How do they compare to tea houses?
Think of trekking lodges as the next step up in terms of comfort and amenities.
Okay.
They're specifically designed for trekkers, often with communal dining areas, sometimes heated by a wood-burning stove.
Wow.
And more extensive menus to cater to diverse palates.
Sounds cozy.
Yeah.
So still that sense of community, but with a few more creature comforts.
Yes, you'll find a mix of room types, twin rooms being the most common.
Right.
Followed by singles, triples, and even dorms in some places.
Dorms, huh?
Yeah.
That brings back memories. But maybe not all good ones when it comes to those thin walls.
Yes, the symphony of snores. You'll want to pack earplugs for sure.
Yeah.
Those plywood walls aren't exactly known for their soundproofing.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunities for bonding with fellow trekkers, whether you intend to or not.
Right.
What about bathrooms and lodges? Are we talking shared facilities again?
Yes, usually shared. With a mix of squat and Western toilets, amenities are still basic.
Okay.
Wi-Fi can be spotty. Power outlets are limited, and you'll probably be gathering around a communal charging station.
Right.
Which often comes with a fee.
That's pretty standard for more remote areas. It forces you to disconnect and be present, which can be a good thing.
Yeah.
So lodges are all about embracing the communal spirit.
Absolutely. They're fantastic for meeting fellow adventurers from all over the world, sharing stories and forging new friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're getting a crash course in international relations.
Yeah.
And mountain survival all in one.
Exactly.
If you're yearning for a little more peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And maybe a hot shower after a long day of trekking.
Yeah.
Guest houses might be more your speed.
Right.
Okay, guest houses.
Yeah.
Tell me more about those.
Guest houses are designed with comfort in mind.
Okay.
They generally have better insulation, meaning thicker walls to block out the noise.
Yeah.
And usually Western-style bathrooms are the standard.
So I can finally ditch the earplugs and squat toilets?
Yeah.
That's a win in my book.
Right.
What about other amenities?
You might find private bathrooms or en-suites, as they're sometimes called.
Okay.
But dining areas tend to be smaller and more intimate.
Right.
And some guest houses even offer heaters.
Oh, wow.
Either for rent or included in the price.
A heater at higher altitudes.
Yeah.
Now, that's luxury.
Right.
But I'm guessing this level of comfort comes at a price.
You're right. Guest houses do tend to be pricier than tea houses or lodges.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're a popular choice for honeymooners or those who simply prefer a more comfortable trekking experience.
It's all about finding the right balance for your needs and budget right.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting that while guest houses offer more privacy, they might not have that same buzzing social atmosphere as the lodges.
So maybe less chance of impromptu sing-alongs with fellow trekkers.
Perhaps, but you can always strike up conversations with other guests.
Right.
In the dining area or communal spaces, it really just depends on your personality
Yeah.
and how much interaction you're seeking.
This is all great information.
Yeah.
So we've covered tea houses, lodges, and guest houses.
Yeah.
Is there anything else out there in terms of accommodation?
Believe it or not, you can even find hotels along some of the popular trekking routes.
Hotels?
Yeah.
In the mountains?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed.
It might sound surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, some enterprising folks have brought a touch of city living to the Himalayas.
Wow.
Some of these hotels are evolved tea houses, others purpose-built.
Okay.
And then there are those that simply use the hotel label for marketing purposes,
Great.
even if they're quite basic.
So it's important to do your research and manage expectations.
Exactly. Generally speaking, trekking hotels offer amenities you'd expect in a city.
Okay.
Room service,
Wow.
power outlets in the rooms, heaters, and a higher level of service.
That level of comfort must come at a premium, though, right?
Yes. Hotels are significantly more expensive than other trekking accommodation options. You could easily be paying 5 times more for a hotel room compared to a basic tea house.
Okay, so if I'm on a tight budget, a hotel is probably not the best choice.
Right.
Speaking of budget, are there any other special considerations I should keep in mind when it comes to accommodation on a Nepal trek?
A few things to keep in mind. Firstly, the sleeping bag dilemma.
Yes, to bag or not to bag, that is the question.
It really depends.
Okay.
The time of year, the altitude you'll be trekking at your budget, and personal hygiene preferences all play a role.
So if I'm a bit squeamish about sharing blankets, a sleeping bag, or at least a sleep sheet, is a good idea.
Definitely, while many lodges and guest houses provide blankets, they might have seen better days. It's always a good idea to have your own sleep system just in case.
Makes sense. What about the cost of accommodation in general? What kind of budget should I be looking at?
It varies quite a bit for shared bathroom accommodation. You could be looking at anywhere from 150 to 1,000 rupees per night for private rooms. Expect to pay at least 2,000 rupees and up.
So while you can find a bed for a couple of dollars,
Right.
be prepared to shell out a bit more for a private room or a more comfortable stay. Anything else I should be aware of?
Yes. An important point is the eat where you stay rule.
Eat where you stay. What's that all about?
It's an unwritten rule in the mountains, essentially. It means you should eat your meals at the lodge or guest house where you're staying.
Is it just about being polite, or is there more to it?
It's about respect, sustainability, and supporting the local economy. Many lodge owners in remote areas depend heavily on food profits to stay afloat if truckers eat elsewhere.
Right.
It cuts into their earnings and can impact their livelihood.
So by eating where I stay,
Yeah.
I'm directly contributing to the local community and helping to ensure the sustainability of trekking in Nepal.
Exactly. It's a win-win. You get to enjoy delicious local cuisine, support the people who are hosting you, and contribute to the overall well-being of the trekking industry.
I like the sound of that. Now, what about solo trekkers?
Okay.
Is there anything specific they should keep in mind when it comes to accommodation?
For solo trekkers, one of the biggest concerns is ending up in a shared room with a stranger.
I can imagine that would be a bit awkward, especially after a long day on the trails.
The good news is booking a twin room doesn't mean you have to share a bed. You get those 2 single beds all to yourself.
That's a relief.
Yeah.
So I can enjoy my solo adventure without sacrificing privacy.
Exactly. However, be wary of agencies that try to pressure you into costly single room upgrades. Know your rights and don't be afraid to push back.
Good advice.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel pressured into those extras,
Yeah.
but it's important to stand your ground and make the best choice for yourself.
Absolutely. And remember, you can always bring your own tent if you want to be truly independent and immerse yourself in nature.
I imagine even pitching a tent isn't always free, though, right?
You're right. Most tea houses and lodges will charge a fee for using their land, even if you have your own tent. It's just the way things work in the mountains.
Okay, so what about homestays? I've heard a lot about those in Nepal. Are they a good option for solo trekkers?
Homestays can be a great way to experience local culture, but the term homestay is often used loosely, and it can be a bit of a marketing tactic.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a tea house or guest house stay with a fancy label and a higher price tag.
So buyer beware.
Exactly. A better alternative might be a community lodge.
What's a community lodge?
It's a lodging option where the profits go back into the local community supporting development projects, schools, or healthcare initiatives.
So you're not only getting a place to stay, you're directly contributing to the well-being of the community.
Precisely. And the accommodations are often just as good, if not better, than standard tea houses or guest houses.
So I'm hearing a lot about making informed choices and being aware of the impact of my decisions. Is there anything else I should keep in mind when it comes to accommodation on a Nepal trek?
Clear communication is key, especially when booking a group trek. Make sure to clarify all the accommodation details beforehand. You don't want any surprises like ending up in a dorm room when you're expecting a private room.
Right, because once you're out on that mountain trail, there's not much room for switching things up.
Exactly. Now let's touch on trekking etiquette for a moment.
Yes, I'm all about respecting the local culture and being a responsible traveler.
It boils down to common sense and consideration for others. Keep the noise down, especially at night. Remember those thin walls. Headphones are your best friend if you want to listen to music or watch a movie on your device.
Got it? Anything else?
Be mindful of water usage in many areas. Water is a precious resource, often transported from distant springs. And of course, be respectful of shared spaces, tidy up after yourself, and be considerate of other guests.
Makes sense. And what about cultural sensitivities? Anything specific to Nepal I should be aware of?
Public displays of affection are generally frowned upon in the mountains. It's best to keep things low-key out of respect for local customs.
Okay, noted. Now let's talk about the practicalities. How do you usually pay for accommodation on a trek?
Cash is king in the mountains. Rupees are preferred, but other currencies might be accepted, although likely at unfavorable exchange rates.
So hit the ATM before heading into the Himalayas.
Exactly, and don't expect to book your trekking accommodation online except for those ultra high-end options. Walk-in availability is usually good, and your guide can help with bookings.
Guides are sounding more and more essential.
They can make your trek a lot smoother, especially when it comes to navigating logistics and cultural nuances.
This has been incredibly helpful. What are your final words of wisdom for our listeners planning their Nepal trekking adventure?
The type of accommodation you choose depends on your budget, your comfort level, and how much social interaction you're seeking. Do your research plan, and be prepared to embrace the unique experience of trekking in Nepal.
Well said. And I have the feeling our listeners are already itching to book their flights and hit those breathtaking trails.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Before we wrap up, I want to make sure we give a shout out to David Ways,
Right.
our Nepal expert for this episode.
Yeah.
His guidebooks and website, The Longest Way Home, are fantastic resources for anyone planning a trek in Nepal. Absolutely. He's got all the insider tips, detailed trail maps, and everything you need to have an amazing adventure.
Yeah.
But speaking of tips and insights, I feel like there's a whole other layer to this accommodation discussion, especially in the age of social media.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me wonder, even though you can't book most trekking accommodations online, those Instagram famous spots might get booked up quickly.
Exactly, especially during peak season.
Yeah.
You might find yourself at the end of a long day of trekking only to discover that the charming tea house with the panoramic views is already full.
That would be a bummer. So it's all about flexibility and maybe having a backup plan.
Yeah, definitely. And it highlights a broader challenge we're facing as travelers.
Yeah.
The tension between seeking authentic experiences and the impact of social media on those very experiences.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
How can we satisfy our wanderlust while also respecting the places we visit and the people who call them home?
It's a question worth pondering. Perhaps it starts with being mindful of our motivations, being open to unexpected detours, and remembering that the most rewarding journeys are often those that take us off the beaten path, both literally and figuratively.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave our listeners with that thought-provoking challenge. Be sure to check out David Way's website, The Longest Way Home, and his Nepal guidebooks for more in-depth information about trekking in Nepal and planning your adventure. We wish you an incredible journey.